Hello there, my fellow Criterion collectors. We have some new announcements to talk about for the month of October 2025. I'm a couple of days late with these announcements. Sorry, I've been very busy, but nevertheless, I thought it was still worth me sharing my thoughts on these new announcements because there are a lot of interesting things happening at Criterion during the month of October. And if you happen to be watching this video in July when I upload it, the Criterion sale is on at Barnes & Noble 50% off. So lots of great things to be getting during the sale. Do let me know things that you've enjoyed picking up during this month, because there are so many things in the collection that I still want to get my hands on. So I'm very much looking forward to picking up some very soon. But let's get on with these new announcements. And as has been a trend during this year, Criterion are releasing a big number of titles. We are usually getting around 7 titles every month, and this is no different. Of course, we're getting some upgrades to 4K of older Criterion titles, the first one being Twin Peaks: Fire Walk With Me, David Lynch's film, which is a prequel of sorts to his very famous television show, Twin Peaks. I would not recommend watching this if you have not already watched Twin Peaks, at least season 1 and 2. You might not have to watch The Return, but definitely watch Twin Peaks first, because this film can spoil some of the things in the television series, and the television series is definitely worth watching without being spoiled. This is actually one of David Lynch's best films, if you ask me, and although you wouldn't necessarily think it's a horror film, it does have so many horrifying moments that, you know, these images are just burnt into my brain. Some of you who have been collecting a long time will know that this already has a Blu-ray within the Criterion collection, and as is typical with Criterion's upgrades, there are no extra special features, and it looks like the packaging is going to be the same as this Blu-ray. This Blu-ray release already looked very good because this is from the same 4K restoration that the new 4K release is going to be taken from. And interestingly, there's no HDR on Criterion's new 4K version of this. And I do also have in my collection somewhere behind me the German Studio Canal 4K release of Fire Walk With Me, which also doesn't have HDR. And to be quite honest with you, when I compared the German 4K release and Criterion's Blu-ray, there honestly isn't much difference in the two presentations. So I would say to you, if you already have the Criterion Blu-ray of Fire Walk With Me, I would put my money on the new 4K release not being much of an upgrade at all. So please don't fall into the trap of thinking that you have to upgrade to 4K just because it exists, because it may well not even be worth it. But we will see. I might be completely wrong, and I would be happy to be wrong, because I would love to see what an even better version of this film could look like. The other 4K upgrade we're getting is Eyes Without a Face, the French film from Georges Franju. This is a remarkable film, beautiful black and white horror film. It's about this surgeon whose daughter is in this horrible accident and her face gets disfigured. So he sets it upon himself to find a new face for his daughter, and you can imagine where things go. There are some really disturbing and gruesome, although somewhat beautiful, scenes where there is surgery going on in terms of transplanting a face to another person. So this is a great film, one of the real gems, treasures of French cinema. Now again, there's no HDR on this release, and it does carry across all the same special features and artwork from the older Blu-ray. That Blu-ray came out around 12 years ago, so it is quite old at this point. So it will be interesting to see how much the film has improved from this new 4K restoration. Onto the new stuff coming to the collection, and we have A History of Violence from David Cronenberg. This is getting a 4K and a Blu-ray release, and this is so exciting. I think this is a phenomenal film, and it very much feels like this should be a part of the Criterion collection. David Cronenberg already has a number of his films within the collection, and this one certainly belongs. Viggo Mortensen stars as this very normal family man who ends up stopping this robbery, and he kills the criminals in the act, and he's hailed as a hero of sorts, but then things are revealed about his own history which create this new image of him and this act that he has carried out. It is a really good film, and I particularly enjoy this period of Cronenberg's career in the mid-2000s when he was making films like this and Eastern Promises, when he'd sort of left behind the horror stuff that he was very much known for, and he was experimenting in different areas. Films like A Dangerous Method. So I'm very excited to see what the 4K looks like. It's approved by David Cronenberg and supervised by the DOP Peter Sushitsky. So fingers crossed, this should look excellent. And there's a whole host of special features on the release. Sticking with Cronenberg, we have his latest film, The Shrouds, which is one I haven't seen, and I believe it's not been too critically well received, but that doesn't put me off watching a film, particularly when it's from a filmmaker like David Cronenberg. I really know nothing about this one besides what is included in the Criterion blurb on the website, so I won't say too much, but this is a Blu-ray which is part of the Criterion Premieres Blu-ray line, which is the renamed version of the Janus Contemporaries, which I think it's a good move to change the name of that series, because just having the word Criterion, well, it carries a lot of brand recognition and brand loyalty, and it should get more people interested in picking up these discs. Then we come to a 4K addition to the collection, which has me most excited because this is one of my all-time favourite films, must be in my top 20 films of all time. It's Altered States, the film from Ken Russell. The film stars William Hurt as a scientist who is experimenting in the field of consciousness and looking at ways that we could achieve a higher state of consciousness. So this could be through drugs, it could be through sensory deprivation, meditation, all sorts of things. But this film and Ken Russell's direction, I think, really does capture the intrigue around this whole topic. It's a subject that I am certainly interested in, and this film, I think, captures that fascination for me. And it does it better than any other film that I've seen that remotely goes near this subject. This is from a 4K digital restoration. There is Dolby Vision HDR, so I'm hoping that this looks flawless. I would really like that to be the case. I think it was rumoured for a while that Arrow Video were going to release Altered States on 4K, and I guess they still could in the UK, so it'll be interesting to see if that pans out. But I'm so happy that this is coming to the Criterion collection. I've seen that some people have said, oh, I wish this was The Devil's instead, because I know that is many people's White Whale release. But that's a film that has all sorts of problems around it, and probably, if you ask me, will never come to light. Another release that has me very excited is Nightmare Alley, coming to 4K. This is Guillermo del Toro's version of the film. There is another version of this story in the Criterion collection. This is the 1940s film, which is fantastic. But I also really do like this new version from Del Toro. And even though it was up for some awards at the time, it's a film that very few people talk about just a few years later. I absolutely love the artwork on this, and interestingly, this is going to bring a new version of the film to release. This is a black and white director's cut of the film, and both that and the theatrical version will be on 4K discs, which is a great thing, because we saw recently with the Basquiat release, there was a new black and white version which was on the 4K disc, and the original theatrical colour version was just on the included Blu-ray. So thankfully they haven't done that this time. I assume this is because Criterion have a stronger relationship with Del Toro, but it is a shame that they aren't consistent in how they are doing this when there are multiple versions of a film within a 4K release. So both versions of the film are in 4K with Dolby Vision HDR, and there's a whole host of new special features made for this release. So I cannot wait. And then rounding out the month of October, we have the film Deep Crimson getting a 4K release. This is a Mexican film from the 1990s, and I have not seen this. I don't know very much about this at all, but it sounds like a really interesting crime film, and I'm all for exploring new films from Mexico. I know Guillermo del Toro was involved with Criterion in restoring or bringing older Mexican films to the collection, so maybe this is one of the fruits of that process. So I suppose if you've seen Deep Crimson, do let me know your thoughts on it, but I'm going to be getting this one anyway because it sounds excellent. So that does it for another month of Criterion announcements. 7 titles again if you count the Criterion Premieres version of the Shrouds. Exciting stuff as always, and it does seem like Criterion are keeping up this increased volume of releases, which I think is a great thing because, you know, there's no obligation to buy them all, to collect them all, and just having more options out there mean that we get more films, and some of the bigger titles can help fund some of the smaller niche things. So it's all good in my books. Click the video that's on screen now if you want more reviews and recommendations from me. Until next time, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.